The space station hung in the black void of the outer sector like a silver jewel. Its lights sparkled against the endless darkness of space, reflecting off the glass panels and metallic surfaces. The station was enormous, a hub where countless species met for trade, diplomacy, and exploration. Among all the visitors and residents, humans were still seen as newcomers, inexperienced and curious, yet eager to find their place in the galaxy. Captain Elias Harper walked through the crowded corridors with a steady, confident stride. His uniform was neat, adorned with the insignia of the United Earth Federation. Despite being human, Elias had learned quickly that confidence often earned respect, even among species who had lived for thousands of years. He paused at a junction where several beings from different worlds mingled. Most ignored him, absorbed in their discussions, but one figure caught his eye. She stood slightly apart from the crowd, her posture calm but alert. Liara Vinth. Her skin shimmered in shades of blue and green that seemed to shift with the light. Her eyes, large and golden, watched the humans carefully, not in fear but with measured curiosity. Elias had noticed her before during diplomatic events, but he had never spoken to her directly. He had heard stories about the Vinthari. They were known for intelligence, strategy, and careful observation. Humans, on the other hand, were considered reckless and unrefined. Elias smiled to himself. That might be true, he thought, but humans had their own ways of surprising others. And maybe, just maybe, he could change her mind. He walked closer, his steps steady, projecting calm and confidence. "Liara," he said politely, "I hope I'm not disturbing you." Liara turned her head slightly, her golden eyes meeting his. She inclined her head in acknowledgement, her voice soft but precise. "Captain Harper, you are not disturbing me. I was observing the interactions here. Humans are fascinating." Elias chuckled lightly. "Fascinating. That's a polite way of saying chaotic." She raised an elegant eyebrow. "Perhaps, but chaos can be interesting too." Elias' grin widened. He had an idea, a bold one, but worth trying. "Would you like to join me for dinner? Not here in the station's main hall, but somewhere quieter where we can talk without interruptions." Liara's eyes narrowed slightly. Humans were bold, she thought. Few approached the Vinthari for casual conversation. Most tried to gain something, information, favors, or alliances. She studied him carefully. There was nothing of that in his expression, curiosity, and perhaps respect. "I do not usually accept invitations from humans," she said, her tone neutral but not unfriendly. "It is unpredictable," Elias nodded. "I won't deny that, but sometimes unpredictability can lead to understanding, and understanding is worth the risk." Liara paused, her gaze sweeping over the bustling crowd before returning to him. There was a moment of silence, a quiet weighing of intentions. Finally, she inclined her head. "Very well, I will accept your invitation, but know this, Captain Harper, what we discuss may change the way you see our galaxy." Elias felt a thrill of excitement. "And perhaps I might change the way you see humans." The next day, they met at the observation deck of the station, a large, circular platform with walls of glass that overlooked the infinite stars beyond. The soft hum of the station faded into the background, replaced by the vast silence of space. Elias had arranged a small table with simple human cuisine, careful to choose dishes that were visually appealing but not offensive to alien palates. Liara observed the spread with polite interest, her fingers brushing the edge of the table as she studied the arrangement. "This is intriguing," she said finally. "Humans place great importance on presentation even in small matters like meals." Elias nodded. "We believe that how we present ourselves reflects respect for others, and sometimes it's just fun." Liara allowed herself a small smile, almost imperceptible. "I have never seen such enthusiasm for food presentation. It is enjoyable to witness." They began to talk, cautiously at first, discussing their respective backgrounds, cultures, and experiences. Elias explained the human way of exploration, our curiosity, our willingness to take risks, and our desire to understand new worlds. Liara spoke of the Vinthari, their long history of diplomacy, and the way they valued strategy over impulse. As the conversation continued, Elias noticed subtle shifts in Liara's demeanor. Her body language became less guarded. Her eyes, once carefully observing, now reflected genuine interest. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but perhaps unpredictability carried a kind of strength that even the Vinthari could respect. At one point, she leaned slightly forward. "Captain Harper, you humans are unusual." You take risks that seem foolish, yet somehow you survive, and sometimes you even thrive. Elias smiled. That's part of being human. We adapt, we find solutions even when they seem impossible. Liara considered this quietly. Adaptation, resourcefulness. These qualities, they are underestimated across the galaxy. Most assume humans are weak or naive, yet you possess a resilience that is rare. Elias felt a sense of pride. Humans had always been underestimated, and yet here she was, acknowledging something essential about his species. But he sensed she wasn't finished. There is a belief among many of my people, Liara continued, that humans cannot survive in high-stakes situations, that you will falter when challenged by true danger. Elias leaned back slightly, meeting her gaze. And you're wrong, Liara's eyes glimmered. Perhaps I cannot say yet, but I wish to observe. Humans may have more to offer the galaxy than anyone realized. For a moment, silence fell between them. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, cold and distant, yet filled with potential. The space station felt like a small island in that vastness, a place where ideas and trust could grow despite differences. Elias broke the silence with a question he had long wanted to ask. Liara, what made you agree to this dinner? You are cautious, observant, and often reserved, yet you accepted my invitation. Liara's gaze softened, thoughtful. Curiosity. And perhaps the hope that humans are not as limited as many believe. I wish to see if there is truth beyond the assumptions. If there is, it may change everything. Elias' pulse quickened. That statement carried weight, more than just a polite conversation. If she saw potential in humans, it could influence how other species perceived them. Humans could gain trust, influence, and opportunity. The evening continued, flowing naturally from cautious conversation to laughter over small misunderstandings of culture, to quiet reflection on the vastness of the galaxy. Elias found himself explaining human inventions, not just their function but their meaning, how creativity, imagination, and determination were as much tools as technology. Liara listened, intrigued. Your species does not rely solely on strength or logic. You blend intuition with reasoning. That is powerful, perhaps more than I have ever acknowledged. Elias nodded. Strength comes in many forms, and sometimes the most underestimated form is the most effective. Hours passed, and the stars outside shifted subtly as the station rotated. Finally, Liara stood, her posture once again elegant and poised. She looked at Elias with a thoughtful expression. Captain Harper, she said, her voice low but deliberate, tonight has been enlightening. Humans are more complex than I imagined. I am not certain if the galaxy is ready to see your true potential. Elias smiled, standing to meet her gaze. Perhaps they will be one day, and maybe it will start with one conversation at a time. Liara inclined her head, a gesture of respect. Indeed, perhaps it will. Be ready, Captain Harper. Humans may soon find themselves tested in ways that will define not just your species, but the galaxy itself. Elias watched her leave, feeling a strange mix of excitement and anticipation. One dinner had not only broken barriers, it had planted the first seeds of a greater understanding. The galaxy was large, full of assumptions and expectations. But humans were unpredictable. And unpredictability, he thought, was often the greatest strength. As he turned back to the observation deck, gazing at the stars, he knew that this evening was only the beginning. One conversation, one meal, one human, and already the future was beginning to change. Outside, the stars seemed brighter, almost as if they were watching, waiting to see how humanity would rise to the challenge. The stars stretched endlessly outside the space station, their cold light reflecting against the polished floors of the observation deck. Captain Elias Harper walked along the corridor, his mind replaying the events of his dinner with Liara Vinth. Her words echoed in his mind. Humans were more capable than most species believed, but the galaxy might not yet be ready to see their full potential. Elias knew that if humanity was to survive in this vast and often unforgiving universe, they would need allies and understanding. Liara, for all her careful observation, could become more than an ally. She could become a bridge between humans and the civilizations that doubted them. He arrived at the observation deck once more, a few days after their dinner. Liara was already there, standing silently and gazing at the stars. Her presence had a calm authority, as if she were absorbing the universe itself. Liara, Elias said, his voice steady but warm, I hope I'm not interrupting. She turned slightly, her golden eyes meeting his. Captain Harper, you are punctual as expected of humans. I am glad you came. Elias approached the table, now prepared for another discussion, but this time with data tablets and star charts laid out before them. I thought we could talk more about the galaxy, about humans, and maybe about the future. Liara raised a delicate eyebrow. Future, that is ambitious. Many species think of humans as short-term thinkers. Elias smiled. We're more patient than we look, and sometimes we just need the right reason to act. Liara's expression softened slightly. She gestured for him to sit. Very well. Show me this reason, Captain. Elias opened a tablet and displayed images of distant star systems, maps of trade routes, and reports of recent conflicts. Humans may be young in the galaxy, but we have learned quickly. We adapt to new environments, form alliances, and survive in situations others would consider impossible. Liara studied the images, her eyes scanning each detail with sharp precision. Your species' growth is impressive, but the galaxy is filled with threats. Not all can be solved with adaptability alone. Elias nodded. True, that's why understanding each other is important. Intelligence, strategy, technology, creativity, they all matter, and humans combine them in ways that are unexpected. Liara leaned back, her gaze drifting to the stars beyond the glass. Unexpectedness is often dangerous. Most species avoid humans because of it, but perhaps that is what makes you effective. Elias leaned forward, lowering his voice slightly. Effectiveness comes from more than power or strategy. It comes from imagination, from willingness to take risks others won't, and from empathy. We find solutions by seeing possibilities others ignore. Liara's golden eyes gleamed. Empathy, that is unusual. Many species act purely on logic, on strength, on tradition. You consider feelings as tools for strategy, Elias shrugged. Not tools, guides. Understanding what others feel can help prevent conflict or resolve it when it arises. She regarded him silently, then nodded. Humans may be underestimated, yet underestimated species are often the most dangerous when properly motivated. For a long moment, neither spoke. The hum of the station surrounded them, blending with the distant echoes of ships passing through the sector. Outside, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging the weight of the conversation. Then Liara leaned forward slightly. Captain Harper, tell me, how does your species handle danger, when faced with overwhelming odds, when survival seems unlikely? Elias considered her question carefully. We find a way. Sometimes that way is clever, sometimes it's bold, sometimes it's simple. But we rarely give up. Survival isn't just about skill, it's about belief. Belief that we can make a difference, that we can adapt, that we can overcome. Liara's expression softened. She had expected arrogance or naivety, but instead she found something else, quiet confidence. You speak of belief as a weapon. That is rare. Few species rely on faith in themselves rather than external advantages. Elias nodded. We have no choice. The galaxy is vast and unpredictable. If we wait for permission, we'll be left behind. But when we act with purpose, and we act together. Liara's eyes lingered on him, thoughtful. Purpose, togetherness, these are not weaknesses, they are strengths, perhaps more than I have acknowledged. The conversation shifted to more specific matters. The reports of hostile fleets near the outer sectors, the tensions between neighboring civilizations, and the opportunities that humans could seize if they acted strategically. Elias shared observations from recent missions, demonstrating human ingenuity and quick thinking. Liara listened closely, occasionally interjecting with questions that revealed her analytical mind. You propose a plan based on limited resources and unpredictable allies. It is risky, but I see merit in your approach. Elias leaned back, allowing a small smile. Humans thrive on risk, but we calculate it carefully, not recklessly as some assume. Liara's eyes brightened. You underestimate yourself, Captain Harper. Humans are capable of remarkable things when underestimated. That may be your greatest strength. The conversation deepened, moving from strategy to philosophy. Elias spoke of human history, of how their species had survived natural disasters, conflicts, and challenges on Earth, and now in space. Liara shared tales of the Vinthari, of diplomacy and negotiation across centuries, of victories won through patience and planning. Elias noticed a subtle shift in her demeanor. Where there had once been skepticism, there was now curiosity and respect. Humans were not just unpredictable, they were adaptable, clever, and resilient. Then Liara's expression changed, becoming serious. Captain Harper, there is something you must understand. Not all species see humans as potential allies. Many see you as weak, as insignificant. Some may even see you as a threat once they realize your potential. Elias leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. We understand the risks, but humans have survived worse, and we will not back down because others doubt us. Liara nodded slowly. I can see why my people often fail to predict human behavior. You act from a combination of logic, emotion, and creativity. That makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability is valuable. Elias smiled. Sometimes the galaxy underestimates humans, and when they do, we have the advantage. For a moment, silence fell between them again. The stars outside seemed endless, as if the universe itself waited to see what humans would do next. Then Liara spoke, her voice low but deliberate. Captain Harper, I believe humans may have more to offer than anyone realizes, but potential alone is not enough. You must be tested, and when the time comes, the galaxy will watch and judge, not just your actions, but your choices, your courage, your humanity. Elias felt a chill of anticipation. She was right. There would be tests, challenges, and threats that would push humans to their limits. But he also knew that humans had one advantage many other species lacked: the ability to surprise, to adapt, to rise above expectations. Liara leaned back, her eyes scanning the stars one last time before meeting his gaze. Tonight, you have shown me what humans are capable of. I will continue to observe. And when the galaxy faces a true test, I hope humanity will prove itself worthy. Elias nodded. We will. And I think this is just the beginning. The conversation turned lighter after that, moving to tales of exploration, strange worlds humans had visited, and curious customs of distant civilizations. Laughter replaced tension as they shared stories of misadventures and unexpected discoveries. Despite the serious undertones of their discussion, a bond was forming, one built on mutual respect, curiosity, and understanding. As the hours passed, Liara finally stood. Captain Harper, this conversation has been enlightening. Humans are not what I expected. You are resourceful, clever, and surprisingly courageous. I will consider what I have seen tonight carefully. Elias stood as well, offering a warm smile. I'm glad. And I hope this is the start of something bigger for both our species. Liara inclined her head in acknowledgement. Perhaps it is. But remember this, Captain, the galaxy will not wait for humans to prove themselves. Challenges will come, and when they do, your people must be ready. Elias watched her leave, a mix of excitement and determination rising within him. Humans had the potential, yes, but now it was time to prepare, to learn, and to show the galaxy what they were capable of. Alone on the observation deck, he gazed out at the stars, thinking of Liara's words. The galaxy was unpredictable, filled with danger and opportunity. But humans thrived on unpredictability, and when the moment came, they would not falter. He clenched his fist lightly, a gesture of resolve. The future was uncertain, but humans were ready to meet it head-on. And for the first time, he felt the weight of possibility, the knowledge that one conversation, one human, could indeed change the course of the galaxy. Outside, the stars continued to shine, distant yet full of promise. And somewhere beyond the station, unseen by most, the galaxy waited to see what humans would do next. The outer sector of the galaxy was tense. Reports had come in over the past few days. An unknown fleet was approaching, their intentions unclear. Most species were anxious, debating how to respond, while humans, young in the galaxy, were still under observation. Yet Captain Elias Harper and Liara Vinth knew the truth. This was the moment humans could show their worth. Elias paced in the command center of the station, reviewing the latest updates on holographic displays. The fleet's movements were precise, almost mechanical, yet unpredictable in subtle ways. Their size and technology surpassed any single species in the sector. Most would have considered retreat or negotiation. But Elias had never been one to shy away from challenges. Liara stood beside him, calm and composed, yet her golden eyes reflected a rare intensity. Captain Harper, she said, her voice steady, most species would panic at the scale of this threat. Humans, do you plan to retreat? Elias shook his head. Retreat isn't in our nature. We've faced worse and found solutions, and we don't face this alone. With strategy, resourcefulness, and determination, we can handle it. Liara's lips curved into a faint smile. I have observed your species for weeks now. You speak with confidence, yet it is not arrogance. You truly believe in your people. Elias nodded. We have no choice. Humans survive because we adapt, we innovate, we persevere, and we do it together. The two of them turned to the large star map hovering over the command table. Red markers indicated the hostile fleet's positions, while green markers showed Allied ships and neutral stations. Most were unsure what to do, waiting for orders from older, more established species. Elias pointed to a narrow sector. Here's our advantage. The fleet expects conventional tactics. If we think creatively, we can turn their strengths into weaknesses. Liara tilted her head. Explain. Elias tapped the display, highlighting the enemy formation. Their ships are powerful but predictable. They rely on overwhelming numbers. If we can manipulate their perception, force them to divide, we can neutralize their advantage without engaging directly in brute force. Liara studied the data carefully. Unconventional tactics, very human. I begin to understand why some underestimate your species. A sudden alert interrupted them. A fleet scout had appeared near the station. Red lights flashed, signaling an immediate threat. Elias remained calm, issuing rapid commands to human and allied crews. Deploy drones to the outer perimeter, he ordered. Activate decoy signals. We need to slow their advance and buy time for the main plan. Liara watched as human crews worked seamlessly, improvising adjustments to equipment and strategy. Their adaptability was impressive. You are fast, she remarked, and precise. Humans rarely hesitate. Elias glanced at her with a confident smile. Hesitation can cost lives. Acting with purpose is what keeps us alive. The scout fleet approached cautiously, scanning for weaknesses. Human drones maneuvered in unexpected patterns, drawing their attention and leading them into traps carefully designed to exploit their predictable behavior. Liara's expression brightened. Ingenious. Your species truly thrives on unpredictability. They are reacting exactly as you anticipated. Elias nodded, feeling a surge of pride. And this is just the beginning. Hours passed as the fleets maneuvered in a tense dance. Human ingenuity combined with Liara's strategic insight created a plan that was both daring and precise. Instead of confronting the enemy head-on, they manipulated their movements, forcing them into a vulnerable position. Finally, Elias gave the command. Now, execute the coordinated strike. Human ships and allied vessels moved in perfect synchronization, their actions guided by a combination of real-time calculation, intuition, and daring. The enemy fleet, confident in their numbers and technology, was caught off guard. They struggled to respond to the unexpected tactics, leaving gaps that human teams exploited with precision. Liara observed closely, her golden eyes shining with admiration. I underestimated your species, Captain Harper. Humans are remarkable. Not because of raw power, but because of vision, courage, and adaptability. Elias allowed himself a small smile. We don't always win with strength. We win with creativity and determination. That's how humans survive. By the time the main fleet had arrived, the enemy was already weakened, divided, and confused. Coordinated strikes from humans and their allies forced them to retreat, their forces fractured and their command disrupted. What could have been a catastrophic conflict ended in victory, without massive destruction, without surrender, without chaos. The station erupted in cheers. Humans and allied species celebrated together, their respect for one another growing. Liara approached Elias, her gaze serious yet filled with admiration. Captain Harper, she said, her voice calm but deliberate, today you have shown me what I suspected. Humans are capable of greatness beyond what the galaxy believes. Your species is resilient, adaptable, and courageous. I will advocate for humanity in my council. They must no longer be underestimated. Elias felt a deep sense of accomplishment, not for himself, but for humanity. Thank you, Liara. Humans are just beginning to show what we can do. This is only the start. Liara's eyes sparkled with a rare warmth. Indeed, and I believe the galaxy will soon learn to respect humans not only as survivors, but as leaders, innovators, and allies. In the following days, reports came from across the sector. Word of human ingenuity, bravery, and strategic skills spread quickly. Former skeptics acknowledged their capabilities, while potential allies began to extend gestures of cooperation and diplomacy. Humans, once underestimated, were now viewed with newfound respect. Elias continued to work closely with Liara, sharing knowledge and insights. Their partnership became a symbol of trust between humans and other species. proving that understanding and collaboration could achieve far more than fear and doubt. One evening on the observation deck where their conversations had begun, Elias and Liara stood together, looking at the stars. The galaxy stretched infinitely before them, vast, complex, and full of possibilities. "You were right, Liara," Elias said softly. "This is only the beginning. Humans have a long journey ahead, but now we are no longer invisible. We are seen, and that changes everything." Liara nodded. "Yes, Captain Harper, humans have proven themselves worthy, but the galaxy is not static. Challenges will continue and tests will come. What matters is how your species responds, not just with strength, but with vision, courage, and unity." Elias smiled, his gaze fixed on a distant star. "We will rise to meet them. Humanity has never been one to shrink from challenges, and we never will." Liara's expression softened into a rare, genuine smile. "Perhaps, Captain, one day the galaxy will look at humans not as newcomers, not as weak or unpredictable, but as a species that inspires others." One dinner, one conversation, it was a small beginning, but it led to something much greater. Elias laughed lightly. "All it took was a chance, and a willingness to see each other as more than what we appeared to be." The two of them stood in quiet contemplation, the stars reflecting in their eyes. Humanity had begun to prove itself, not through dominance, but through intelligence, courage, and collaboration. And in that moment, both human and Vinthari knew that the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. Far beyond the station, across sectors and systems, reports arrived of humans acting with resourcefulness and bravery. Word spread quickly, carried by traders, explorers, and diplomats. The story of Captain Harper and his crew became legend, inspiring humans and aliens alike. In every corner of the galaxy, species began to reconsider their assumptions. Humans were no longer to be underestimated. They were capable, resilient, and full of potential. And it all began with one invitation, one conversation, and the courage to act when the moment demanded it. Elias stood on the observation deck long after the celebrations had ended. The galaxy was vast, uncertain, and sometimes dangerous, but humans were ready. They had proven that determination, creativity, and empathy could overcome obstacles greater than any single species could face alone. Liara approached quietly, her presence steady and reassuring. "Captain Harper, I see now that humans are not only survivors but pioneers. I will continue to watch, and I will continue to advocate for your species. The galaxy is beginning to understand what I have learned tonight." Elias nodded, a quiet determination in his heart. "Then we will continue to show them, Liara. Humanity will not be underestimated again." The stars outside the station stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to the unfolding story. But humanity was no longer invisible. It had risen, proving its worth in ways that no one had expected. And as the galaxy continued to spin, filled with challenge and opportunity, one thing was certain: the age of humanity had begun. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Now they would see.